Right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to my channel, Maths Made Easy with Terry in 10 minutes. So we're going to talk about our addition formula today, and I think this will be the last topic in this series. So I'll just try and solve, introduce this in this series, and the next two videos, I'm going to solve more examples. So before you come into this video and before you start watching it, please try as much as possible to review the addition and double angle formula video before proceeding, because that is going to be the bedrock for the for this video and subsequent example we're going to solve. So the first thing, why are we solving our formula? All right. Now, the first thing is not that you should know that we're not teaching you another equation. But what we're trying to do here, we're going to show you new tricks, okay? So here we're trying to show you new tricks for an old equation. So you're also conversant with the equations already. In the fourth video of this series, I showed you some of those equations, but in this case, we're trying to show you some new tricks. The second thing is that in addition to the double angle formula and addition formula section, where you can split where I showed you how to split sine A plus or minus B and cos A plus or minus B into separate sine A, sine B, cos A, and cos B terms. So basically, we're trying to use the R formula to split this into separate terms of sine A, okay? Separate terms of sine A, sine B, cos A, and cos B. Okay, that's what we're trying to do. And finally, we're looking at a way how to collect a linear combination of these terms into one expression. So when we now have this separate terms, we want to see how we can now combine it into one expression. So basically, we're trying to combine it in such a way that it's going to be something like R sine theta plus alpha, or it could be R cosine theta minus plus what? Alpha. So we're just trying to break it down into something like this. All right, so because it's a 10 minutes video, I'm not going to go into how it's been derived, the concept of the angles, the concept of each of them. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to just make it so easy for you. I'm going to just make some quick notes here, all right? Things to keep in mind. So I'm going to tell the general expression, so how the R angle formula is generally expressed, okay? Then also I'm going to give you some tips and shortcuts as well. Then I'm going to tell you about the 5 rules of this, after which the next video will start solving some examples, okay? So the R addition formula generally is in the form of R sine theta plus or minus B cos what? Theta, and to give you the equivalent R3 what? Equation. Okay, so this is the general expression. So R sine theta plus or minus beta cos theta will give you the corresponding R3 equation. No worry, I'm going to explain this, and I'm going to solve some questions on how to get this. And also, the second thing I want you to also keep in mind is that generally there's a quicker way of getting some values for R, okay? So the formula for R is the same thing as saying, so this alpha or A, or let me call it A so that it will not confuse anyone. So let me just call this A. So let me call it A, so it will be easy to differentiate. So this is A, and yes, so R squared will now be A squared plus B squared. So to get the value for this R, to be equal to the square of the coefficient of sine theta plus the square of the coefficient of cos theta will give you that. Now, and how to find the alpha, that is the angle between both of them. So to get the angle for that, the alpha will be equal to the tan inverse of B over A. So it is very important for you to know this shortcut. The other ways of deriving R and alpha, but these are the quicker way to do it. Okay, so three things I just talked about here. That the R formula, we're just introducing new tricks, and we're just trying to break down the sine alpha and beta, the sum and differences of angles. We're trying to break it into individual terms of sine A, sine B, cos A, and cos B. And also, I also talked about the general expression, where it's A sine theta plus B cos theta will give you a particular trig equation. And that is why you need to review the previous equation to know the respective trig equations. And generally, to get the R is equal to the square root of A squared plus B squared, and alpha is the tan inverse of B over A. So how do we solve this? Now I'm going to write the 5 rules of solving R addition formulas, the 5 rules of doing this. And you can just keep this in mind while solving. And like I said, each of these 5 rules I give, you don't really need to follow it in that order. When you've practiced a lot, okay, you can just jump from step 1 to step 3 and the rest of it, okay? But I'm going to just write down the 5 rules that you should need to know while solving this question. So the first one is to equate both equations, all right? So equate both equations. Okay, then the next one you have to do, based on what I explained to you in the previous video on the trig identities or the trig equations, you then have to expand the R trig brackets. Okay, you then have to expand the R trig bracket. So when you've done that, you equate both equations, you then expand the R trig brackets. The third thing you then have to do is that you have to compare similar terms on both sides of the equation. So you then have to compare similar terms on both sides of the equation. So basically, what I'm trying to say is that you have to compare similar, it's the same principle with partial fraction, where we look at a question on the right-hand side, an equation on the right-hand side, or the term on the right-hand side, and compare it to the term on the left-hand side. So it's just similar to partial fraction, okay? So I'm gonna just put it here. So for those of you that have not watched my video on partial fractions, you can go back and have a look on partial fractions and how we do coefficient of terms, okay? It's similar to coefficient of terms method. Then number 4, when you're done with that, you have to divide the sine equation by the cosine equation, all right? The next one is that you have to divide the sine equation by the cosine equation. Now, usually, the essence of doing this step is to make sure that we want to produce tan equation, all right? So to have the tangent, all right? So to have tangent. So because we know sine theta over cos theta is equal to tan theta. So to have tangent, to find alpha. Then number 5, which is the last one. Then after you've done all this, then find the value for R using any of the equation in 3, all right? So find the value for R. So using any equation in step 3. Okay, so the first thing, you equate both equations. When you equate them, you now expand the trig bracket. Okay, when you expand the trig bracket, then you now compare similar terms, similar to what we did in partial fraction, where we're comparing coefficient of terms. Then after that, you divide the sine equation by the cosine equation to have tangent to find for alpha. Then after that, you find for the value for R using the equation in step 3. That means in this step here, all right? This step here. Okay, we're hitting 10 minutes already. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to just quickly remind ourselves, review what I just said. Then in the next video, we're going to solve examples on how to use the R addition formula. So basically, what you need to keep in mind, you need to take note of the general expression, okay? The general expression is A sine theta plus or minus B cos theta will give you the R trig equation. And also you need to take note of the shortcuts as well, that R is equal to the square root of A squared plus B squared, and alpha is equal to the tan inverse of B over A. Then finally, you need to know how the 5 rules of solving. You equate both equations. You expand the trig bracket. After expanding it, you compare similar terms. You divide the sine by the cosine so you can get tan, because we know that sine theta over cos theta is equal to tan theta, right? So that's basically what we're doing in step 4, all right? So that's basically what we're doing, because we know sine theta over cos theta will be equal to tan theta. So we then have to then say you divide all the sine equation by the cosine equation to have the tangent. Then when you find that, then using any of the equation in step 3, you then find for R. All right. So I'm going to see in the next video, we're going to start solving some questions about this, and we'll see how we do from there. All right. See you soon. I'll see you in the next video.